Hello everybody, this is Wayne Ross, founder of the tribe here in Boise, Idaho. And as we did with our previous session on harmony, the 3 sessions that we held with harmony, I wanted to also put out a video with the slides on the 3 sessions related to the topic of bliss. We feel it's important to have this information out just in case they're not able to be seen well on the recordings, or if you're not able to come down and join us in person. Again, the tribe is created as a space for people to get together and talk about topics that are common across the world and throughout time, essentially, as we've found with our discussion on harmony, really trying to find the connections, the things that we all have in common, which when we look at it, we believe we have a lot more in common than we don't. So bliss, we were looking at it from the first perspective, that being of Hinduism. And the Hindu belief is in ultimate happiness, according to the research here. This occurs when you complete the rebirth cycle. So essentially, having transmuted beyond the physical as the Brahman, the ultimate reality, divine consciousness. So going through the cycle repeatedly, achieving what you need to achieve so that you can move on to this eternal bliss state. Japanese folklore gives us something that we may see in various places, sometimes even in restaurants or other areas around town, the 7 gods of bliss. They are a group of Japanese supernatural beings who work together to create happiness or bliss. 1 was from Japanese origin, 3 from India, and 3 from China. So some commingling there of the culture as well. And this group would travel on a mystical boat, those which are sold as trinkets on New Year's Eve. And you would put your wishes in those on New Year's Eve and see if you got those at the beginning of the new year, pretty much like ideas of the tooth fairy in U.S. culture. And then the last one we looked at was Socrates and what Socrates had to say. And for him, bliss was happiness. Of course, all humans desire happiness, and happiness is attainable and teachable through human effort. Socrates, born in 460 BCE in Greece, and one of the preeminent ancient philosophers, felt that it was something that we could all attain through proper teaching. So as we do always at the end of a session, we look at the 3 to sort of see some commonalities, some overlap, what these groups are saying about bliss, and how we could sort of maybe use that ourselves, apply it ourselves, their knowledge, and take it to our homes, our works, whatever the case may be. The session 2, we started with a review of the first 3 groups, the Hinduism, Japanese folklore, and Socrates. And then we moved into a little bit different area, and the power of myth. So for this, we moved into literature and the work of Joseph Campbell, who is credited as saying the term, follow your bliss. When you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in your field of bliss, and they open doors to you. I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. So Joseph Campbell is the creator of the hero's journey, the myth cycle that is used repeatedly in all of our stories and movies that we have. Star Wars follows the hero's cycle, the Marvel movies, etc. It's the hero's journey. But Campbell also had many ideas and thoughts about bliss, namely the one term, follow your bliss. This was then expanded upon by Deepak Chopra, who stated on Campbell, let me expand on this point by showing that bliss is much more fundamental than almost anyone realizes. It holds the key to transforming the mind. Stage 1 is the experience of personal joy. Stage 2 is joy possesses you. And stage 3 is bliss as a default state. So he goes further off of what Campbell was saying and adds in the 3 stages of development, essentially, or what you'll experience in this bliss state. And then lastly, we looked at Buddhism for some information, because this is where most of us would expect to get information on bliss. Cultivating bliss with emptiness, a specialty of Vajrayana Buddhism, helps us develop our insights into the true nature of reality and emptiness. To quote, cultivate a state of mind focused on bliss and emptiness as forcefully as possible. This emptiness is the ultimate truth and also the ultimate virtue. And the wisdom of great bliss is the clear light wisdom. With a feeling of joy, imagine that offerings having such a nature pervade entire space. So a much more deeper mindset thought that we've got here from the Buddhists on how to cultivate your bliss. And we have the 3 in that session, but then we get to then compare from the previous session, and Hinduism and Buddhism have very similar concepts, but as we saw with Hinduism, you have to finish a cycle of reincarnation and be done on this world, where Buddhism seems that you can attain it and in this world, just like Socrates is saying, and the author Joseph Campbell is suggesting that you find that bliss, you follow it, and move on from there. So session 3 is always a review of the first 2 sessions, which is not needed here. But then we moved into Greek mythology and the concept of the Elysian Fields. It's a paradise in Greek mythology where blessed souls go and experience eternal happiness or bliss. Journey is by completing deeds, doing proper deeds for the most heroic and virtuous, very similar to Norse mythology and the concept of Valhalla, without the later evolutions that the Greeks added on, which tended to take a more political aspect, so it wasn't necessarily going to be open for everyone. It was going to be sort of changed over time. But the original intent of that concept, the Elysian Fields, was the place of eternal happiness or bliss. And next we move into Taoism with Wu Wei, the state of effortless action. We think of as meditation, and maybe possibly for some of us, living in harmony with the natural flow of life, which can be seen as a form of inner bliss. Difference between Taoism and Buddhism. Taoism focuses on the path of Tao, a formless power that guides all things in an eternal cycle. Buddhism, though, provides a detailed theory about the afterlife and an elaborate cosmology. So Taoism is more streamlined and focused, where Buddhism seems to have more tangents that attach to it and those concepts. Then lastly, we were looking at culture, collectivist versus individualistic cultures. And this sort of connected to our talks on harmony as well. When we look at collectivist cultures, maybe we think of East Asian cultures where bliss might be more strongly associated with strong family bonds, community harmony, and fulfilling one's role within the group. And in the West, bliss could be more focused on personal achievement, self-actualization, and individual freedom. So we see that in our daily lives. We see that in people achieving for their goals here. And it's just a contrast between the 2 different types of cultures there that we have that we can take a look at. But bliss would be in there in both, and it's a reward. But also you can see pieces of each in the other. I know here in the West, we also do have some strong family bonds and community harmony at times and things like that. So it's not exclusive, but maybe those things are just prized more. So those were the last 3 in that session. And then at the end of that session, again, we have the 9 pieces of information that we can review all about bliss. And as these all thread together, sort of gets us to that understanding that all these different groups in these different places throughout time and history have the same underpinnings of understanding and what's necessary in life, and then maybe what's not necessary. Maybe we work too hard and on certain things, and then others just come to us naturally. And where we find our bliss is going to be determined upon where we are in our lives and what we do with that.